Good afternoon. This is Mornings with Michael in the afternoon today. We were in the evening yesterday and now we're in the afternoon. Chorus skate is our word of the day, flash or sparkle. So that is our word of the day, chorus skate. We go over here to the S&P 500 heat map. It is refreshing. So here is our heat map. Some of the big cap techs got hit today. Earlier, I got knocked out of some of my stops on MicroStrategy, but we got right back in there. It jumped right back up. So that is a story with that. Healthcare, real estate, utilities, automakers, consumer defensive, and financial seem to be the rising stars. We're going to refresh the screen, come right back as we look at crypto, our crypto map. Here's our crypto map for the day. Bitcoin is getting close to 120 again. Ethereum is taking some profits. And XRP is trying to bounce back. So that's our heat map in the crypto area. And we are going to now look at some of our screens. So we're just going to switch. So here's my MicroStrategy, or simpler called now strategy. See, it sold off, went right below the 20-day moving average, hit my stop, and then it has bounced back. So we'll see if that can get back into the blue pivot zone there and see if we'll add anything. The NASDAQ. Seems like our internet is a little slow today. So we are back here, and here is Bitcoin. This is what Bitcoin has been doing today. And our internet is spinning again. So we'll be right back. We're back with Ethereum. Ethereum had a big sell-off down here, and now they are riding back higher to where they were last night. So that is it with Ethereum. And we're going to switch over to our other charts. So here's how the NASDAQ did today. A pause would be in great order. Let the moving averages catch up to where it's been trading. And so it is off 0.52 today. Take a look at the equal weight. Equal weight is actually up today, up 0.48%. S&P 500. S&P 500 sold off and then bounced back. Pretty flat for the day, though, actually. And see if we can get the RSP to come up. RSP is the equal weight in the S&P 500, and similar to the NASDAQ equal weight, it is moving up. It's up 1.27% today. And the small caps, I believe, were kind of leading. They're up 0.83% today. Working on a cup with a handle. We'll see if they can get into that pivot area. So let us go to our sub-indexes. The financials look pretty good. They're bouncing. Look at JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo got a nice move there, up 2.62%. Look at KBWB, and it is up slightly at 0.63%. Energy is holding right there at the 50-day moving average. And our aerospace index sold off a little bit and is trying to bounce back. Let's take a look at the VIX, see what our VIX is doing. It's pretty low. Hasn't really moved too much. This is not the one I wanted to see. I'll have to check on that symbol a little later. But here are our 20-year ultra short. They're pulling back a little bit, down 1.27% to 3.6. Here we are with the 10-year Treasury ticker. It's down 0.82%, so the yield is 4.34, and we are back on track here. Communications is up. Meta Platforms pulls back below the 20-day moving average. Their earnings are in 8 days. Google, yeah, their big behemoth here is rising. It's up 0.65%. Utilities are up 1.23%. They had a pretty tight closes here and then broke out. So that's something you should kind of look out for. We've got tight closes here, and where it looks like we're in a power trend right now in the utility sector. VST sold off initially and is bouncing back. Real estate. Wow, look at that move in real estate. Got a big move there, up 1.74%. Biotech is up slightly, up 1%. The other one is up massively, almost 3%. Move on the other biotech here. Software is holding in there. Technology pulls back to the 10-day moving average. Semiconductors has got a nice pullback in between the 10 and 20-day moving average. PAVE continues performing well. Take a look at Road. Tried to pop into the pivot zone here and is pulling back. So it's got a little bit of a handle here. We'll just see if it can break back up here. Keep our eye on that one. Airlines, RYAAY. See if we can pull that one up. Was moving earlier. Yeah, we got a big move here yesterday it popped into the pivot zone, and another big move right there. On to leisure activity out of the office, rising a little bit. We'll sell off to the 10-day and a bounce back on Royal Caribbean. Viking holding in there near the profit zone. Carnival holding in there above the profit zone. And Norwegian has been a little bit of a laggard here in the cruise lines. So we will move on to industrials. Industrials are at the top of their pivot zone. Caterpillar looks like it's getting pretty close to the pivot zone here, up 1.74% today. Healthcare got a nice move in healthcare, up 1.86%. See what Eli Lilly did. They got a nice move. Same number. Interesting, 1.87%. Consumer staples, huge move there, up 0.91%, clearing all the moving averages. Building materials got a nice move off of the 10-day, up 1.38%. The 50-day needs to clear the 200 here in order for it to be in a power trend. Mining and metals. Wow, look at that strong move up there. Take a look at silver. Silver just keeps moving on up. Had a gap up here. Had two gap ups. It looks like it filled this gap on the little pullback here to the 10-day and renewed its move up. Uranium pulled back yesterday and got a nice bounce here. CCJ is a big mover here, up 106. The smaller issue, it's up 2.37% today, up to $2.16. Huge move from 108 to 216. So that's a double. Let's go over here to the news. So in our consumer news, we have General Motors. Q2 core profit fell 32% to $3 billion as the automaker continued to confront challenging tariff policies, which it said sapped $1.1 billion from the results. So they got a big sell-off. They dived down 8.12%. DR Horton, Q3 EPS 336 versus estimate of 290. And they take off on that news, get above the 200-day moving average, up nearly 17%. Lululemon downgraded to neutral from overweighted JP Morgan and cut target to $224 from $303. And didn't really move too much. It's actually up 0.32% on holding, downgraded to outperform from strong buy at Raymond James, and it does dive below the 200-day moving average, down 5.36%. And Shopify downgraded to hold from buy at Loop Capital, citing valuation, and it's off 3.68% on that news. Onto energy, industrials, and materials. CSX shares rise after Semaphore reported BNSF, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. That's what that stands for. The railroad giant owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway is working with Goldman Sachs to explore a takeover of a rival according to people familiar with the matter. And it is up 2.5% today. Canadian Pacific up slightly at 1.03, and CSX, also back in the news, have created new rail transportation routing option for customers across the southern US with this Southeast Mexico Express, the new East-West Class 1 corridor that connects shippers in Mexico, Texas, and US Southeast onto Crown Holdings. Q2 adjusted EPS $2.15 versus estimated $1.87. They initially jumped up and then they sold off. Now they were end of the day only up 0.29%. Halliburton, Q2 EPS 55 cents versus estimated 56. They sold off big time and then fought back to stay near the 50-day moving average. On to Lockheed Martin. Yeah, they had a significant problem there. And now I kind of lost my news. We'll get it right back. Has secured a significant $999 million contract to provide production support for the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile. So that, I had my cursor in the wrong place, I guess. Here's Lockheed Martin off close to 11% for the day. And on to Northrop Grumman. Sales in Q2, 10.35 versus estimate of 10.07. And they take off to the pivot zone on that one, up 9.41% onto Steel Dynamics. And building materials ETF is where Steel Dynamics can be found. Q2 EPS $2.01 versus estimate of $2.10. And they filled this gap here. So that is the news there on Steel Dynamics. The Trump administration is expanding its search for partners to build the Golden Dome missile defense system, courting Amazon's Project Kuiper and big defense contractors. Tensions with Elon Musk threaten SpaceX dominance in the program. So take a look at Amazon based on that news. Pulling back a little bit, and then Rocket Lab are gaining traction in it. Rocket Lab sold off and bounced off the 10-day moving average. We move on to financials. Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs. David Solomon is shopping for a needle moving acquisition, according to a report at Semaphore. He held takeover talks with $25 billion Northern Trust earlier. See what Northern Trust is doing. It's up slightly. So that is what's happening with Goldman Sachs. AGNC Investment, Q2 EPS 17-cent loss. Sold off initially and it bounced back up 1.52%. Circle Internet Group was downgraded to sell from neutral with a target of 130 from 205, and it falls 8.23%. On to Equity Lifestyle. Q2 FFO a share was 69 cents versus estimate of 69 cents, and they fall on that news, down 0.28%. RLI, Q2 EPS 84 cents versus 78 cents. They sold off and then it bounced back. up 0.45%. We looked at strategy. Earlier, they announced a proposed initial public offering of 5 million shares of STRC stock, said proceeds from IPO to be used for general corporate purposes, including Bitcoin acquisitions. And that is the news with strategy. And we are on to Trust Bank, Q2 EPS 79 cents on NII 41.76 million. And they trying to get into the pivot zone here, breakout. Wintrust Financial Corporation, Q2 EPS $2.78 versus $2.59 estimate, and they're moving up 3% on that news. On to WR Berkeley, Q2 EPS $1 versus estimate of $1.03. Initially, they sold off and then they fought back strong to be up 1.09. Zions Bancorp, Q2 EPS $1.63 versus estimate of $1.31. And they settled pretty much where they ended yesterday. And we're on to healthcare. Danaher, Q2 EPS $1.80 versus $1.64 estimate. They tried to move up and then hit their 50-day moving average on their head and pulled back a little bit. MedPace shares surge over 40% overnight. Q2 EPS $3.10 versus estimate of $2.96. And they gap up massively. You can see the relative strength rating jumps up, even though the relative strength line is really low, but it went up 55% today. That is just amazing. On to Sarepta Therapeutics. Said Monday evening it will pause all shipments of Elevidys, its gene therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and they're up 2.21%. I believe they lost yesterday on that. Let's see if we can take a look at a weekly. Just dived yesterday. So we are on to technology, media, and telecom. Agilysys sold off, gap down big time, and then fought back to only sell off 4.73%. Q1 EPS was 33 cents versus estimate of 36 cents. On to Calyx, Q2 EPS 33 cents versus estimate 21 cents. And they are breaking out again. They moved up to the profit zone, pulled back to the 20-day moving average. We are in a power trend here on this stock. The 10-day is above the 20-day, and the 20 is above the 50, and the 50 is above the 200, this little black line here. And it looks like the relative strength rating has just hit a new high against the S&P 500. So that is that. And on to NXP Semiconductor, Q2 adjusted EPS $2.72 versus $2.67. Initially sold off to the 20-day, actually went below the 20-day, and they have bounced back to the 10-day. So that is a story there. Take a look at Rigetti Computing. Initially sold off 4%. We'll see if it is able to get back to the profit zone, but that is getting close to a round trip ticket. Toast is continuing up on its breakout. See that right there. Broke out of here. We bought over right along the 10-day moving average. So that is a story with toast. And we're going to end our chart examination right there. And we're going to go over and close out our show with our finance quote of the day. Comes from Ben Franklin. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. So that'll send you off today to chart your waters. And if you find anybody that needs a helping hand, please help them out. And let us help each other soar to new heights. In the meantime, Taco Tuesday is among us. If you can go help out a taco truck and have a great lunch, do so, or dinner. And in the meantime, everybody have a great day.